Hi guys, Steve Moneypenny here with The Practical Shooter. And I want to cover a little bit about our belt setup, getting everything in that way. And I'm going to do a separate holster video about exactly how to set up our holsters. But the first things first, the belt system I use is a double alpha belt system. I also use the Red Hill Tactical belt system, which you can use the double alpha inner belt with. This is a soft Velcro inner belt, a little bit of hard Velcro here. When I put this on, I like to get it as tight as I can. Don't make yourself very uncomfortable, but it's very important that the gun and belt system stays very tight around your midsection. That way, if you bend over, you move, stuff like that, all your gear stays there. Your outer belt stays to your inner belt. And this is the outer belt that I use. This is a Red Hill Tactical setup, made for my Red Hill Tactical holster. But it is a double alpha setup from Red Hill Tactical. And this is a Springer Precision Drop, which you can get right there along with your holsters also. And these are double alpha mag pouches. I set up my belt, and what I do is I set it up so that for my production, single stack, anything like that, that these little bones here on my hip, that's as far as it's allowed to be forward. So I give a little bit of extra space. Then I set up my magazine pouch. The double alphas, they have a special little Allen key that you can work with and loosen them up so you can move the tension. They have spacers on the inside so you can be sure of how thick or how tall you want them. Now, the reason I say this is the depth of some of the magazines. An STI magazine is a large frame, so it's longer. Glocks are polymer reinforced steel, so they're, instead of being quite so thin for the same amount of ammunition, they're a little thicker and have plastic on the outsides of them. So I try to set my magazine pouches up so that I don't really have to change those a whole lot. I can put them on a belt or off of a belt. I was playing with the setting on this earlier, so I tightened it way tighter than what it needed to be. So what we do is run this little finger wheel back a little bit until we have some space at the back of our magazine. This will definitely loosen them up. And that way there's some tension on them, they'll stay in there. This is my 3-gun rig, you'll notice all the extra holsters and stuff there. So knowing which placement for your magazine pouch and how that magazine is set up. So we don't want magazines that are straight in front of us vertical, and we don't want ones that are way back here laying down so that we have to turn our wrist. We want to set our magazine up so that we can have it right here. Again, these are for production class. If I can do limited or open, I can move them up here. But we want the magazine vertical right here, and we want to turn our wrist as little as possible. My front magazine, I want it to be able to reach it and pull it out and not have my wrist bent in some really weird catawampus angle. I run bullets forward. There are some folks that run bullets out, which changes the way your rotator cuff turns. Either way is fine. However, this is the way I've done it for years. I prefer it this way, and my shoulder doesn't like to rotate quite so much whenever I'm doing reloads. So your mileage may vary on this one. So when I'm out here shooting, I've already set up my belt. And with my 3-gun gear, I set my holster back and a little higher. The reason I do that, I set it back further and higher because I do a lot of things with other guns. If I have a shotgun or a rifle that I'm pulling up, I don't want to hit the front of my gun or my scope with my other gun. I also don't want to get my sling wrapped around it. This is my USPSA style holster, kind of on a 3-gun rig right now. So I set up my magazine pouch so I can reach to it easily, draw it, pull it out, and insert it. If I turn it, a lot of folks want to turn them backwards, which I don't even know if it'll fit in the pouch yet. It will fit in the pouch to turn it here. There's no guide. Generally, it's not going straight in. So I want to pull the magazine out straight, insert it, and return to the target. So that said, I can place these at the same spot, my front magazine, and either that or my holster, depending upon which sport that I'm shooting, and put this in the same place every time. I don't want my magazines to be in a different place where I reach for them. I have had them in the past before be too far forward, so if I get it just a little bit off, I grab a rifle magazine, which would set right here for my 3-gun, and that does not fit in my pistol. So put your gear in the same place every time, adjust it till it fits you, leave it there and get some good practice in. So mainly my biggest concern with my magazine pouch placement is that it is consistent and it is fast. Getting the magazine out of the pouch is the hardest part of the reload, in my opinion. Some people say it's getting it in the gun, but if you don't have it out of the pouch quick and smooth, you actually will never get it into the gun, because it'll either be laying on the ground or it will be turned sideways in your hand or some other screw up. So consistent gear placement and having the amount of gear that you have available to you, that's fucked up.